Hey everyone, happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian, and I'm sitting here on the eve of New Year's Eve, just ahead of the college football playoff quarterfinals. Kicks off tomorrow with that Fiesta Bowl matchup between Penn State and Boise State, New Year's Eve evening. New Year's Day, we've got three matchups, a huge slate of excellent games that we're going to get to. Coming off a first round last week where we went 4-2. Jackie Jones made his inaugural pick with Porcelain Picks. He got it wrong. We'll give him a mulligan. He's sitting out this week, but he'll be back again next week should Penn State advance. And a little foreshadowing there, we think they will advance. All right, on the season for you, 138, 126, and 1. We're entering into the end of this college football season. Thanks for sticking around with Porcelain Picks. We at Porcelain Picks are here to deliver you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like, dislike, comment, give us some of your predictions on these games. Where am I getting it right? Where am I getting it wrong? We've got 6 picks that we're going to make for you on this holiday week. All right, starting out with the Fiesta Bowl, we got Penn State, Boise State. We all know the story of Boise State. They got a bye in the first round. A lot of people don't think they deserve that bye. When this rule was instituted, when this playoff format was instituted, the leagues looked a lot different, all right? So there will be some changes made, but for now, let's just celebrate it for what it is. Boise State, Ashton Jeanty, getting a chance on a big stage to play in the final 8 teams of the college football playoff as they match up against Penn State. All right, so this is going to be a different style game than Boise's played throughout this season. We know that they matched up against Oregon second week of the year. They played them tight. They had Oregon with their backs against the ropes. They had a chance to upset the Ducks. That's early on. It's a group of 5 team coming in with Ashton Jeanty. A little bit off the radar. We knew he was good, but he rushed for 180 yards against Oregon that game. Oregon does not have a strong rush defense, and we've seen, I'll talk a little bit more about their defense and how it shows up against these top caliber teams, or does not show up against these top caliber teams. Penn State's a different beast on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to see a box loaded with 8 or 9 guys every single play, bringing a different caliber athlete to the defense than Boise's faced in the Mountain West all season long. Boise is used to playing against weaker competition. They're used to playing in games that they're supposed to win. That's why they can lean on the run. And I think Jeanty is going to get his yards. I'm not saying he's not. I think he'll go for $140 and maybe 2 touchdowns in this game. But will that be enough? Their quarterback, Maddox Madsen, has not turned the ball over this year. He has 3 interceptions on the season. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they lean on the run and they play lesser competition. Penn State, on the other hand, is good at forcing turnovers. We saw last week against SMU. In the first round, they got 2 pick sixes to start that game off. That helped out their slouching offense. So Penn State, sometimes their offense shows up, as we saw against Oregon in the Big Ten Championship. Sometimes it doesn't in 20-degree weather at home in that game against SMU last week. And their defense got them what they needed to start that game off right. It's actually the second game this year that their first touchdown was a pick 6. We saw that Ohio State game earlier. We saw what happened. Their offense didn't show up in that game either. But I think this is a get-right game for Penn State. I think their offense gets back on track in a much better venue for offenses to play. I think out in Arizona, Penn State's going to be able to put up some points. I do see Drew Aller passing for 2 touchdowns in this game. I think Tyler Warren's going to get on the board at least once. He's going to get some massive yards. I think Penn State is going to be able to slow down Jeanty. Again, I mentioned he'll get $140 and 2 touchdowns potentially, but they don't have much else that can beat them. I think Penn State's going to start to slow them down, and when Maddox Madsen has to throw the ball, he's going to throw at least 2 interceptions in this game. I think Penn State rolls, might be close early. Jeanty's going to get his. It's going to be 38-17 Penn State. Take that -11, lock it, flush it, move on to New Year's Day. Happy New Year. All right, Peach Bowl. We got Texas versus Arizona State, another lopsided line. We got Texas -12.5 at the time of this recording. Arizona State comes in again with a bye out of the Big 12. They're the new Big 12 team. They're the Big 12 champ. They're picked to finish last in that conference, so more power to them. Props to them. Cam Scatabo, running back. This guy is a baller. He's a little ball of fury. He can catch the ball too. He had 500 yards receiving on the season. Look for this guy to be steamrolling some of the Texas defenders. But Texas's defense, again, a lot stouter than the Iowa State defense that Arizona State just blew up in the Big 12 championship game. All right, Sam Levitt We saw this quarterback trash talk Quinn Ewers. He said he's going to be the best quarterback on the field. That's bulletin board material that Arizona State probably doesn't have to be putting out there against Texas, who's one of the top teams in the country. Texas has been able to run the football on their offensive side when it comes to all games where they haven't been matched up against the Georgia Bulldogs. So look for Texas to get rolling on the ground. Arizona State, probably the worst defense remaining in this college football playoff. On the flip side, Texas has a very stout defense. All right, 12.5-point spread. I really like the Longhorns to cover here. I think it's their game to lose. I think Quinn Ewers doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be serviceable. They get Isaiah Bond back in this game, so I think they will be able to throw it against Arizona State. Again, just like the Penn State game, it might be sluggish out of the start for Texas, but I think they pull away and cover this 12.5 easily. Lock it, flush it with the Longhorns. All right, move to the Rose Bowl. This is the biggest matchup of the weekend. You got Ohio State, you got Oregon. It's going to be 5 p.m. in the Rose Bowl, 5 p.m. Eastern in the Rose Bowl. And that's going to be something like 70 degrees, perfect weather. Over under is set at 55.5. Right now, Oregon is a 2.5-point dog. All right. First matchup between these teams, we saw the coaching challenges at the end of the game. Really, the coaching, the great job done by Oregon, running that 12th guy out, wasting some time there with that penalty that they took on purpose. Ryan Day loses another big game in that matchup, but he's since got things corrected here, as we saw what team showed up against Tennessee. All right, so it's going to be what team's going to show up. What's the coaching strategy going to be on the Ohio State side? I think when this team plays at their best, they're one of the best teams in the country. This might be the best two teams in the country when Ohio State's playing their best football. Can Will Howard protect the football? Are they going to scheme to get the ball in the hands of their wide receivers? You got Jeremiah Smith, you got Emeka Egbuka, you got Carnell Tate, you got guys who can get open on the outside. You need to get your playmakers the ball. Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, they're going to get some carries. Get them the ball in open space if you're Ryan Day, if you want to have a chance at victory. If they show up with the same game plan that they showed up for against Nebraska and Michigan, they're going to get smoked in this game. But I think if they show up like they did when they wiped the floor with Tennessee, who supposedly had a stout defense, they're going to be putting up some points on Oregon. All right, Oregon, their defense, I alluded to this earlier. They show up differently when they face top competition. You may say, obviously, top competition is going to be better positioned to score some points. But we saw Boise State put up 34 points on them earlier in the year. They're in the college football playoff. Penn State put up 37 points against them just a couple weeks ago in the Big Ten championship. Ohio State put up 31 points in that 32-31 Oregon victory. So this team is going to give up some points. I very, very confidently think Ohio State's going to put up at least 30 points in this game. And on the Oregon side, Dylan Gabriel, this guy's one of the best players in the country. He showed up at the Heisman ceremony. He's probably underrated for what he is. You saw him against Penn State. He has those little subtle moves where he can really get out of the way of a pass rush and then get the ball downfield. He's a fun player to watch. He's got his weapons, Tej Johnson and Evan Stewart, healthy on the outside. These guys eviscerated Ohio State's weak cornerback core the last time these two teams met. So look for some of that to happen again. I see this game flying above the over. I got this locked in after the games last week at 52.5. It's now risen to 55.5. I still love it. I think both teams put up at least 30. I think this game could go into the 40s in a track meet. Take the over 55.5 and laugh your way to victory when it hits this number in the mid-third quarter. Lock it. Flush it. All right. I also like Oregon plus 2.5. They're the number one team in the country. They're undefeated. I think there's a little bit of undervalue on them here and overvalue on Ohio State after that performance against Tennessee. I do think the Buckeyes play a sound game. I think it's going to be close. That's why I'm taking Oregon plus 2.5. I think Ohio State has a chance to win this game by 1 or 2 points, but I'm going to take the Ducks with the plus points. Lock it. Flush it. It's going to be a great, great Rose Bowl game. Make sure you're parked in front of your TV for that one. All right. The night game, we've got the Sugar Bowl. We got Notre Dame against Georgia. Georgia, we know they're without Carson Beck, who just declared for the NFL draft. He's out injured for the rest of the season, so they'll miss him. He's obviously got a strong arm. Gunnar Stockton, a serviceable backup. We saw him have to come in the SEC championship, come from behind and win against Texas. He looked like a deer in headlights at times, but he did execute and ultimately get the victory. All right, he protected the ball. He's a guy with toughness. We saw him get lit up, got hit big by that Texas cornerback. He got back up and kept playing. The defense on Georgia, they step up again against Texas. It depends on who they're playing, all right? They were eviscerated by Georgia Tech, Haynes King. They were eviscerated by Alabama, Jalen Milroe. Common theme there, the dual threat quarterbacks give Georgia trouble. Is Riley Leonard truly dual threat on the Notre Dame side? I don't know. I mean, he could certainly run. He will get his yards rushing, but can he pass? Can he protect the ball? Will Georgia respect the pass? That's the question in this game. Over-under in this game right now is set at 45.5. Notre Dame is a 1.5-point underdog against Georgia, playing with their backup quarterback. Notre Dame's down a defensive lineman. I forget his name off the top of my head, but this guy is a beast. He's going to be a top round draft pick for the Irish next year, so that's a big loss as well. But Notre Dame's got guys on defense. They played defense very stoutly all year long. I think it's going to be no different. Georgia's offense is very pedestrian this year. They've got Trevor Etienne, their star running back. He's their best player on the offensive side, their best weapon. Outside of that, I don't think there's many guys that are going to scare Notre Dame. On the Notre Dame side, they really don't have any weapons on the outside that are going to scare that Georgia defense, but will they be able to rush the ball? Jeremiah Love, this kid is great. I've been high on him all year long. He had a 98-yard touchdown run last week against Indiana. Can he replicate the big plays? Georgia's given up big plays a lot this year at a high clip rate, so I think there's something like in the 50s when it comes to defending against the large chunk plays. So look for Notre Dame to get a couple lengthy runs, but Georgia's going to stack the box. All right. Both teams are going to play this as a rock fight. It's going to be ground and pound this entire game. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game. It's going to be 21-20, your final score. Either side could win this, and that means I'm taking Notre Dame plus 1.5. Lock it, flush it. They could win by a point. They could lose by a point. This will still hit. And I also like the under 45.5. You can lock it. You can flush it. All right. Really high on this under. I do think Notre Dame's going to win. So if you're feeling frisky, take that Notre Dame money line. They're giving up plus 1.5 right now, but I'll take those points and hope that they can keep this at least a 1-point game if they do happen to lose. All right. So those are your picks. You got 6 picks. It's going to go 6-0. We at Porcelain Picks bring you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. I'm Andrew Fabian. Happy New Year, everyone. Enjoy the games.